Just when Zimbabweans were hoping for a glimmer of sanity in the halls of justice, the Zimbabwe state came in swinging with yet another chapter of its long-running political theatre, this time featuring investigative journalist Blessed Mhlanga as the star scapegoat. What was scheduled to be a procedural, relatively uneventful court appearance quickly morphed into a twisted circus act. All eyes were on the court to simply assign a trial date and allocate a courtroom. The kind of administrative housekeeping that usually passes unnoticed. But not in Zimbabwe. Here, even the setting of a date turns into a masterclass in legal acrobatics and judicial gymnastics, and this time the script had a new twist. One penned long ago by none other than media mogul Trevor Ncube himself. Let's rewind. At the start of this entire legal saga, Trevor Ncube, the man behind HSTV and employer of Blessed Mhlanga, stood defiantly before the cameras and essentially dared the state to arrest him. A bold provocation in a country where journalists are routinely jailed for breathing too loud. He didn't whisper it. He didn't couch it in diplomatic doublespeak. He called out the state's paranoia and basically said, if telling the truth is a crime, come get me. Let's refresh a little bit and hear what he actually said.
Obviously, it was to be expected. It's no surprise at all. I think the surprise would have been if we'd gotten a sense that the court had seriously applied themselves to the case that has been brought before them. It's saddening, it's heartbreaking, but that is what it is in terms of the selective application of the law in our country. Criminals are let to go scot-free. The innocent and the weak are subjected to the law in a selective kind of manner. We are confident that in due time, Blessed is going to be allowed to enjoy the freedom that all of us are currently enjoying. I think fundamentally important is the fact that there wasn't any indication that the court realizes that you're dealing with freedom of expression and press freedom, and that Blessed did not say any of the stuff that he is alleged to have said. I mean, and Blessed is not HSTV. Blessed is not AMH. He's just a journalist practicing his profession, which is constitutionally protected, just like you guys are doing here, broadcasting to the public at home. You can't be accused of inciting the public for broadcasting what I'm saying right now. I am the one who should be brought before the courts, not the journalists who transmit the information. So I'm disappointed in that regard. But this is the reality that we are in right now. Unfortunately, President Mnangagwa owns the courts. They have said they own the military, they own the police, they will do as they please. We will continue, I'm sure the lawyers will do what is right. But what we saw happening today is not fair, it is not justice. And our constitution does not support what has just taken place here. Thank you, good people.
But is it safe now for journalists to interview someone who speaks against the regime?
Well, I think it's clear to me that all of you, under the current circumstances, having seen what you've seen out there, you do this job at your own risk, because the court is not going to protect you. The court is going to side with the regime rather than the journalists who are doing this on behalf of the public. You're not doing this for yourselves. You're doing this on behalf of the public. Your role is to inform the public. You are conveyor belts in a way. Of course, you're supposed to come in and control the quality of what you broadcast. But what we saw happening today says none of you is safe, because you are going to. They will come for you for what you've written. They'll come for you for what you've broadcast. But should that make us afraid? No, it should not make us afraid. We should still continue to do what is right by law, what is right by our constitution, and what the public expects us to do.
What does this mean in terms of the reflection on the country, on the profession?
Very bad. So what is important to realize is the link between we are open for business and the application of the law in a manner that is transparent, in a manner that shows that there's fairness, that there's justice, in a manner that gives confidence to those.
Well, guess what? They didn't take long. Rather than touch Ncube directly, too loud, too high profile, too international, the state has now gone after his newsroom. If they can't jail the owner, they will jail the brand. And they will drag the journalist along for the ride. So today, instead of moving forward as promised, the prosecution strutted in and promptly asked for yet another postponement. The courtroom equivalent of clicking snooze on justice. But this wasn't just another delay. It came with a political twist. The state revealed it had decided to throw HSTV, a media house that's been a thorn in ZANU-PF's side, into the legal pit alongside Mnangagwa. Because clearly in 2025, investigative reporting is a team crime in Zimbabwe. You write the article, your editor gets charged. You hit publish, your entire media house is frog-marched into court. All roads lead to silence, and silence is the new compliance. Not surprisingly, Mnangagwa's defense team wasn't having any of it. They came prepared, citing the court's own words from a previous appearance on April 22, 2025. Words that clearly stated no more remands or postponements would be granted unless a trial court was actually assigned. This wasn't just about court schedules. It was about honoring commitments in a justice system increasingly allergic to accountability. The defense rightly called it what it was, a thinly veiled political maneuver to stretch out this ordeal and weaken the defense through exhaustion, delay, and strategic lawyer sabotage. Because if you can't win the trial, just keep moving it until the accused breaks. And then, after a conveniently timed lunch break, likely featuring stew, sadza, and maybe a fresh batch of talking points, the state came back with a sudden epiphany. We are ready for trial, they declared, just like that, as if their morning of delay requests had never happened. And like clockwork, the court snapped to attention, logged in May 14, 2025 as the trial date, and assigned a courtroom. It was one of those moments that reminds you this isn't really about justice. It's about choreography, about dancing to a tune that's piped in from higher offices with darker motives. But the whiplash didn't stop there. The defense, doing its actual job, informed the court that Blessed Mnangagwa's preferred lawyer would be out of the country on that date. Now, in any system that even pretends to care about fair trial rights, that would be grounds for reconsideration. After all, this is a serious case with serious implications for the accused, for the media, and for the rule of law itself. But the state, no, they stood firm, unmoved, uninterested in making room for things like legal representation or common sense. And once again, the court nodded along like a bobblehead, confirming the date and discarding the objection like a bad headline. So Blessed Mhlanga remains behind bars, locked up without the full protection of legal counsel, his trial date forced through by a state that seems more obsessed with silencing critics than upholding the Constitution. His defense team argued passionately that this amounts to unjustified continued detention, especially since removing him from remand could have opened the door to a fairer process. But alas, Zimbabwe's justice system seems determined to set new records in institutional gaslighting. Bail, fairness, due process, those are luxuries reserved for the politically connected, not for journalists who have dared to speak truth to power, and not for journalists who did not commit a crime. Because if a fair trial runs expeditiously, then he will be out in no time. But no, the state wants to jail him before the verdict is given. So they want him to actually serve a sentence before his guilty verdict is decided. And let's not lose sight of what this really is. A strike against HSTV and by extension against Trevor Ncube. It's the state's way of saying, we saw you there and we raised you a prosecution. They couldn't touch Ncube directly without risking too much international backlash. So they are going after his brand, his journalist, his newsroom. The message is crystal clear. If you challenge us, we will find a way to punish you. Not just you, but everything and everyone associated with you. It's media warfare disguised as court proceedings. It's intimidation with a judicial stamp. Let's hear from Blessed Mhlanga's lawyer.
At a session where the state was supposed to give a trial date and allocate the matter to a trial court. Initially, the state indicated that they needed one more postponement because the state has now decided to rope in HSTV. The state has pronounced that HSTV, the organization that employs Blessed Mhlanga, will be a co-accused. Charges are going to be leveled against this media house called HSTV in respect of the charges that Blessed is facing. We objected to the postponement of the matter because at our last appearance on 22 April 2025, the state had promised that there would be no further applications, there would be no further remand without the allocation of the case to a trial court. After the lunch break, when the state was supposed to respond to the application for refusal of further remand, they suddenly changed the position to say they are now suddenly ready to go to trial, and they allocated a trial court and a trial date being the 14th of May 2025. Despite our indications that the lawyer of choice for Blessed Mhlanga will be out of the country, the state insisted that they will not budge, they will not make any concessions, they will stick to the 14th without any regard whatsoever to the circumstances of the accused person or of his legal representative. Once it became clear that it was pointless to make any submissions or any engagements with the state, we therefore let the state exercise its will, which was endorsed by the court, and the case is therefore postponed to the 14th of May 2025 for trial. It appears to us that by that date, the state would have fast-tracked the issue of HSTV to make sure that HSTV is also before the same court for trial. That is the current status of the matter. In the meantime, Blessed Mhlanga continues to languish in prison. He will not be afforded the liberty that we believe he deserves. Had he been removed from remand as per our request, that would have entailed his release and restoration of liberty. But the state has made it very clear that it is determined at all costs.
This case is now a full-blown test of press freedom in Zimbabwe. The state has crossed the line from defending public interest to defending its own fragile ego. Blessed Mhlanga is the latest casualty in a broader war against accountability. And by charging HSTV, the state is hoping to turn the media into the message: obey or else. The line between court and theatre is blurred. The prosecutor is also the playwright, and the judge, well, he's just reading from the same tired script. As of now, HSTV has not issued an official statement, but insiders suggest the mood inside the newsroom is one of resolve. They knew this fight was coming. Trevor Ncube's challenge was bravado. It was a warning. And now the state has taken the bait. It's clear the media is in the crosshairs like never before. Every journalist, editor, and news director in Zimbabwe should be watching this case, because today is Blessed Mhlanga, tomorrow it could be you. This is no longer just a courtroom drama. It's a national crisis in legal cosplay. And Zimwaves TV will be right here poking holes in the propaganda, amplifying the silence, and calling this farce what it really is: a desperate regime lashing out at a truth it can no longer control. Don't just spectate, resist, subscribe to Zimwaves TV, and join the fight to keep truth alive in a country where lies wear robes and injustice carries a gavel.